Hi guys, you're with Donna and Cheryl from Now Is Your Time, and on our podcast today we've got a guest who we met a little while ago, a lovely lady over in Ohio by the name of Ashley DeLuca, and we're going to talk about some of the key events that's happened in Ashley's life and how it shaped her into the beautiful young woman she is today, and she's got some really key messages she wants to pay forward. So hi Ashley.
Hey Nate, thanks so much for having me. I'm so pumped to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And we just have to tell you guys, because obviously we can say Ashley and you can't, but she's wearing a Boss Babe cap.
Yeah.
So I'm really Boss Babing it. So absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you again, Ashley. And last time we met, you had Nicholas on, who's your baby, who we'll be hearing a little bit more about later, but he's with his daddy today, yeah?
Yes, he is. Yep.
That's cool. So one of the first things I wanted to talk to you about was, I know when you were growing up, a brother came along, and that really started changing. So could you just take us back to there and what was happening around that time for you, Ashley?
Yeah, definitely. So when my mother was expecting, and we were so incredibly excited because I had two other sisters before. So being like super young, I was like, oh my gosh, finally I get a brother to play with. And I remember I was in school, I was in grade school, and I remember getting a call because we knew it was like super soon, we knew it was almost time. And I remember getting a call and walking down to the principal's office, and they're like, hey, like, congratulations, like, you're now a big sister, but there's some issues, so your grandparents are coming to get you. So I remember being picked up by my grandparents right away from school and going directly to the hospital. And the first thing that I remember seeing of my little brother was him. He was so tiny, and he was just laying on a small hospital bed, just covered and just everything, like all the wires, all the tubes and stuff. And instantly, like, I was just instilled fear, like complete, absolute fear. And I knew that it wasn't gonna be what I thought. Like, it wasn't gonna be like what my other two sisters were gonna be like whatsoever. And so it was really scary. And as time progressed on, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. My mom and dad were constantly at a hospital about an hour away with my little brother. And so we would get to visit. I'd get to visit my parents and my brother, usually on the weekends outside of school. And I just remember feeling so incredibly confused and lonely and just like very overwhelmed because I didn't understand. And I knew things were going to be different, but I just didn't know how they were going to be different. So as time fast forward, as he grew older and as, things got better for him and, he started to develop more and all that good stuff, I realized that, again, things were different, and I started to get treated differently as well from my peers, because they all knew, they're like, oh, you have a brother with Down syndrome. And I think a lot of it has to do with people not really understanding or really knowing like how to react to people who have, disabilities. But it was really difficult as a child because I just saw my brother for who he was, and he was my brother, and I loved him. I still love him like oodles amount. And so the biggest thing is like trying to find that fine line of being able to be accepted by people who don't understand your situation. That was really hard.
And just going back to that time, so when you're so young, you say you were being treated almost differently.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, how were people behaving around you? What did that look like?
Anytime we would go out in public, it was always a bunch of stares all the time. Like, people would just look at you. And I was also in sports, so I did a lot of softball, so we were traveling and things like that. And it was just those kind of little comments that were made, so what's actually wrong with your brother? Why does he do that? Why does he act that way? And, trying to explain it in a way that you wouldn't be judged back, where you're like, no, like, he doesn't understand, like, or, he's still in the progress of, learning how to do that, or, because there's obviously, developmental issues as well that comes with that. So, he doesn't act like a normal, 15-year-old. He doesn't act like a normal 9-year-old. There's a little bit of delay, and that's just him progressing, and that's just how it was.
You must have felt naturally quite, because we were saying there's the same age gap between my sister and you and your brother, and I'm the older sister, and it's, you're always very defensive of them, right? So you must have wanted to, be straight in there, kind of sticking up for your little brother.
Yeah, definitely. I remember one time being at a park and there were some kids that were hardcore picking on him. Like hard, you know, and we were just all at the park and we were all playing and I remember just going like, okay, you're gonna have to stop. Like this is just not how this is gonna go. You know, it's not acceptable. And I really wish that there was more understanding as opposed to more of that ignorance of being like, oh, we're just gonna, you know, make fun of the unknown here.
Yeah. I can resonate, and we've chatted about this because my brother, he's profoundly deaf, so he can't hear or speak, and he has cerebral palsy. So I can resonate with what you're saying. And I think, interestingly, when you said back about feeling very lonely and isolated, it's almost because you don't understand. I know when I was growing up, I used to see that my brother was loved more than me because he got all the attention. And I didn't really understand. All I just translated to me as, oh, they love him more than they love me because he gets more attention. So when you were saying you felt very alone, you were your grandma's all the time, like what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of confusion. You know, I knew my parents were trying their best. I knew it was really stressful, and I matured really quickly. After this, I matured very quickly above my peers because I was going through so much trying to, like, you know, I still had 2 little sisters as well. And my one sister stayed with me with my grandparents. So it was a lot about, you know, like maturing and growing up and being like, hey, like, it's going to be okay, you know? And a lot of the thoughts were just the simple fact of like, you know, it's just being really scared because I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. You know, they would use really big terms I didn't understand. But it was really just about just trusting, you know, knowing that like it was going to be okay in the end, you know?
Yeah. And I guess for me, so I'm thinking with parents now, you're a parent, I'm a parent, you know.
Yeah.
If we're ever in the situation, or for the people listening, where this is them now, they've got children, and then they have another child that has different needs to those children. What from your experience of being the sibling and kind of being old enough to know things were different, but not old enough to really know what to do about it or process it, really, probably, I guess.
Yeah.
What, as parents, what do you think we could be doing to make sure that we're handling the situation as well as possible? Like, what advice would you give from the younger siblings' perspective, if that makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the biggest thing is just, I mean, we know at the end of the day, as being a sibling, you know, that you're doing what you know is best, you know, in that situation, because my parents were completely caught off guard by all means, and that's okay, you know, and they worked through it and they're still working through it. And I love my parents to death, but I think the biggest thing is just making sure you take that one-on-one time to be able to, you know, still instill like, hey, like, I still care about you, like, even though this is all going on. And that's what my parents tried to do by all means. You know, when they had the opportunity away from the hospital, you know, they gave us that one-on-one time to be like, how is school, you know, and still, you know, being a parent. And I think that's really important not to forget, you know, still, you know, trying to make it as normal as possible. That's the biggest thing.
And being honest, I guess, about what they're going through, but in words that we understand when we're little. Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah, because I mean, again, it affected me too, you know, by all means. And it's just the biggest thing of just keeping, you know, them informed and being able to like, yeah, your brother's doing really, really good today, you know, and, you know, just making sure you put in the effort, you know, even if it's just a phone call. That, I mean, that made a big difference.
It just changed the dynamics of the family, didn't it? Because all of a sudden you're not in the family a lot of the time, you're away, and it just changes tough on kids, isn't it? I mean, we're very resilient when we're little, but it's still confusing at the time.
Yeah,
exactly, definitely.
Okay. Wow. As you've grown up then as a woman, how do you think it's changed you having that experience of having a brother with needs that were very different to you and your other 2 siblings, 2 other sisters?
Yeah, so it really opened my eyes up to a whole different world. You know, before I wasn't really exposed, you know, to people who had different needs. So it was really a huge maturing situation as I went through life, and especially as I went through like middle school and high school. For me, you know, as I was, you know, getting made fun of in those stares and, you know, getting that, you know, kind of rebellion against like, oh, you're different, you know, because you have that, because they didn't understand. But I guess the biggest thing is it was really just a big, huge thing of maturity, you know, and just opening my eyes to being able to see, you know, like, because for him, the world is such a happy place. He's happy all the time. And so it's one of those things where, you know, it's taking a second and be like, oh, I should look at the world like Joey does, or I should look at the world like Joshua does, because, you know, like for them, it's just a happy place, and it should be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's people look at your brother and think he's different, but actually, if we could all just grasp a little bit of what they have in life.
Well, it's when you get it's the pity looks and stuff, isn't it? That's the bit that's probably really tough, because you kind of want to say to people, you don't need to look at us like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the biggest thing is that, you know, like it's hard. Don't get me wrong. Like I've seen my parents struggle and trying to figure out like what's best for him and things like that. But the biggest thing is that, you know, it's part of the journey, you know, and it's just, I mean, even when my brother comes to visit, he's just so happy. He's so excited to come to Ashley's house, you know?
You know, like it's probably harder on your parents and on the support network than it is on Joey, because he in his world is great. You know, don't feel sorry for him. He's great.
Right, exactly. Yeah. As long as he's got peanut butter in his life, he's solid.
Exactly. So you moved out of your family home or your grandma's home, and now you're with your husband and your son. So how did that transition happen? What happened there?
Yeah, so essentially, when I turned 20, I moved out of my parents' house, and I moved to the capital of Ohio, which is Columbus. And from there, I went to university, so that way I could, you know, go to college, do all that fun stuff. And then I met my husband. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I ended up moving. After we got married, we built a house, and then we moved into our house together.
Oh, you built a house. And how old were you when you built a house?
We just moved in this past spring, so I'm 23 now. So I was 22 technically when we moved in.
Built a house at the age of 22.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. So Cheryl's daughter is 21 next month.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd know where to start with the building of a house. She's building up to buying a house next year. You'll have to tell Holly to listen to this one.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, I mean, it really relates back to my situation, because I saved and saved and saved and saved. I was always a very hard worker and very determined and motivated, because I had to be, you know, I had to take my own strides in life. I had to let my parents know what I wanted to do. And so, you know, it really does go back to like my childhood in regards to with my success, because I was trained to be determined and motivated and to take that extra step.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
Totally hear you, and I think it's amazing what you're saying. But to play devil's advocate, not everybody comes out that way from that kind of experience.
No.
So people turn to drink or drugs or just feeling sorry for themselves or in you know, desperate relationships because they're looking for some sort of external validation that they were good enough, and there's no judgment on that, but I think you're kind of saying in an almost flippant way, well, I had to grow up, but you did it in a really beautiful way.
Mm-hmm,
definitely. In a special way that you felt no resentment, you only feel love for your family, you really see what your brother's gone through, and like you said, it made you come across as so much more mature than your years.
Absolutely.
Which again, like I know you're saying stamp your upbringing, but there's clearly something in there, and your parents have obviously done an absolutely fantastic job, and your grandparents of helping you transition through all those turbulent times as a kid. So, you know, give yourself a bit of a pat on the back, Ashley. I don't think it was probably quite as easy as you're making it sound at times.
Well, I think probably to you it is, but to other people who are listening to your story.
But this will come down to your outlook, which we'll move on to talk about. So
when did Nicholas come along and talk us through your story around your very, 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 very short maternity break? Shortest one in history.
Yeah, probably. Oh my, it was only 2 days technically. No,
I was still wiping sweat off my head after 2 days of having Caleb.
Still trying to walk. Like,
yes,
like you're being knocked down by a bus.
So maybe that's because I was like 20 years on you when I did it. So
Well, the biggest thing is that I give all the credit, because I'm sure many, many years from now he might stumble upon this episode. He was a really good baby by all means. He was very sweet. Still is very sweet, and I mean he does his own thing for the most part. I mean he usually is just, unless he needs something, he's just hanging out with me, so it works out really well. But I know when I first became pregnant, I had the idea already, and I was working through the process of owning a business and trying to figure it out along with working my 9 to 5. And at my 9 to 5, I was working 10-hour days, making a 3-hour commute, and it was really, really difficult. And I was like, holy guacamole, like this is way too much. And as I got bigger and bigger and I got more hungry and just, all the things that come with pregnancy, I was like, this just isn't going to do. Like I knew that at the end of the day, I wanted my son to be home with me. Mainly because I wanted to experience all the things in life with him. I wanted to hear him say his first words, be able to learn how to crawl, walk, all that good stuff. And I think it's really important as well, if you have that opportunity to be with your child, you should be, if that's what, your life wants and that's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a really big revelation for me when I became pregnant, because I knew it was go time. I knew it was time that I had to do it. And that's why I left my 9 to 5 in June. I had him in September. And the biggest thing is that I immediately was like, all right, okay, we had the baby. Let's go back to work. Mainly because I'm just so motivated and driven, and I knew that just sitting around or trying to, I just have to have something to occupy my mind by all means. I mean, that's just the way I am.
After 2 days, people.
Yeah.
I can't get my head around.
Yeah.
I was still learning how to put the nappies on after 2 days.
Yeah.
I was useless.
No, I mean, I had my mom here with me for a couple days after, which was really helpful. She really helped me transition into, motherhood, because this is my first.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was just a lot about just working through it. It was just mainly working through between the margins of things. So when he was napping, I was working, and just really just trying to put in that effort when I could.
So what was it in this business then that just makes you so excited? And when had this conversation in the cafe with your friend happened? Because where did that all occur?
Yeah, so that was my very first experience with my business. And that happened about 2 years ago. Yeah. And what ended up happening is we just met up for our normal coffee date, and we were sitting there talking about like what we wanted in life, where we wanted to go, and what we were really truly passionate about. We were in a corporate career that we thought was going to satisfy us, that was going to take us down the road that we were wanting to, and ultimately fulfill us. And we were kind of looking at the long-term path, and we saw it wasn't going to be the case whatsoever. And so as we were sitting there, we were just reflecting on our strengths, on our weaknesses. What is our personality type even? What does that look like for us? And as we went through the process, I realized, I was like, you know what? I'm really passionate about web design. I'm really passionate about digital marketing. Maybe that's what I should do. Like if I'm not passionate doing it for, like a big corporate company, but I'm passionate about helping other people do that as well, like the small businesses.
Uh-huh.
And so I went ahead and I had my laptop there with us because we were looking up stuff on the internet and all, reflecting. And I went ahead and bought the domain name for the company that I was going to start at the time, that very day. And that's where I kind of started working through that process of, I just jumped in. I didn't have a day to think about it. I didn't, ponder. I was like, you know what, we're going to do it. Here's what I'm going to name it. And I just went with it.
What did your name? What did you go with?
So my first company's name was Blank Slate Media Consulting.
Uh-huh. And that was the first company. We're 23 here, people. Like that was the first company.
That was the first one. Yeah. And then from there, I actually transitioned into just branding myself. So everything is found underneath my name, Ashley K. DeLuca.
Okay. Oh, well, that makes it easy to find you. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, most people were like, wait a second, you're, understanding, because the way my business, it's me. So it would just didn't make any sense for me to be underneath an actual business name when, like, you're working with me, you're talking about me, all that good stuff. So it just made more sense.
The brand, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, exactly.
Almost just when you talk about your job, as well as when you talk about your baby, your face lights up. Like, it's not really a job, is it? It's like you're with a baby.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it really fulfills me. At the end of the day, like it just makes me so incredibly happy to get those emails back. They're like, thank you so much. Or, like I didn't understand, but now I do. And just helping people find that understanding, helping people find that, they can utilize digital marketing for their business and it does not have to be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. It really lights me up. It really, really does.
Amazing.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like you've had about 5 lives and you're only 23.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen when we come back and talk to you in 10 years? Like, what would have happened by then?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I have plans. I'm in the process of writing a book, so I'm really excited about that. I'm looking into booking speaking events next year, so I'm really excited about that too. That's the main thing going on, but we'll see. I'm really excited.
It could be anything. You'll be watching this space, Ashley DeLuca.
Yeah.
So for your book then, what do you know yet what your book's going to be about? Have you got a really clear vision?
Yeah, definitely.
Of course you have. It's a silly question.
So basically my book it's called Lotus on Fire. And essentially what it's about is going from being an entrepreneur from the mud. So basically going from the mud of your life, whatever that is, and turning into a rising entrepreneur. And basically kind of that thought process and the things that I did to be able to work from my foundation, from my past, to be able to turn into the person I am today.
Oh, using your life experiences as your life lessons.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, everyone's story is different, and I think the most important part about that is building off of the foundation that you already have, and building off of the skills you already have as well too.
Yeah, but I love that even it, not in a patronizing way, but a lot of people are like our age, older, when they really connect with what their purpose is and the stuff that lights them up from the inside. And it's so amazing that you've already, and there will be a journey and it'll change, but you already know what you love doing. And you've been kind of really brave and gone out on a limb to set up your own business and just make that happen. Because around your values of wanting to be there with your child, with Nicholas, from and from having such a great upbringing. Clearly it's not been easy, but it's been incredibly rewarding because look at what we've got sat in front of us. So if you were summing up your life lessons then for the people listening to this podcast today, what messages would you want them to take away from this?
Yeah, so I definitely believe that you are in control of your life and how that turns out. I see so many people just trying to throw a pity party for themselves, because they didn't have the right upbringing, they didn't have the right this or that. And I honestly, truly believe that it's all about you. Like, you have to take responsibility. You have to take action for your life. And, I'm a really big fan of Rachel Hollis. And one thing that she says is not tomorrow, not Monday, not next month, not in the new year, today. Take massive action today. And I firmly believe that's taken a huge toll in regards to with my success, is because I've always just done the thing. It's scary. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. But the biggest thing is you have to take action now. That's the biggest thing. Don't wait for that. I think, and I think also too, what comes along with that is you have to have that very clear vision, because I believe that you can manifest what you want in your life as well too. It may not come today or tomorrow, but as you clearly have a full set on goal, that's what's going to drive you. That's what's going to make those late nights go by for you. I spent so many late nights building my business because I firmly believe that it's easier to stay up than to live a life full of regret, not knowing that I'm not going towards my goals to reach them.
Well, I don't have anything else to add to that.
No.
And that never happens.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley.
You.
It's been a pleasure to hear more about your story, Jen. Everyone's going to love listening to the podcast. So thank you for sharing and being so open with us about everything you've gone through and sharing your life lessons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.